Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you all for joining today's webinar, which is the final session in the weekly series that Business North Harbour has been providing, covering a variety of topics based upon the feedback received from members in our recent Business Resilience Survey. I'm Kevin O'Leary, General Manager of Business North Harbour. Before we get into today's session, I'd just like to thank our sponsors, without whom we couldn't offer a number of the programs and services that we do for our members. So a huge thank you to North Shore Golf Club, Waste Management, Pathfinder Solutions, Driveline, Montsellier Law, Ramada Suites by Wyndham, Albany, Spark Business Hub, Auckland North, the Mark Group, Dale Carnegie, and Benefits, who are our gold sponsors. Also our silver sponsors, Phone Plus, Davenport's Law, and Turner Hopkins. And not forgetting our Women in Business sponsor, Eclipse Recruitment. So again, thank you to all of our sponsors. So moving forward, today we're looking at how to make your marketing more effective. One of the many challenges for business owners as they responded to the changing preferences and procurement habits of their customers brought about as a result of the pandemic has been how to maintain or build their presence and keep up to speed with the digital world that has changed so much in a relatively short period of time. This week's guest speaker is Bex Taylor. With a background in design, branding and advertising, Bex is now the marketing manager for the Mind Lab, the most innovative education provider in Aotearoa. At her core is a doer and problem solver with a get stuff done mentality, who now helps to raise awareness of the Mind Lab's boundary pushing programs that ultimately create lifelong learners and empower people through self-directed learning and creating impact and change where it matters most to them. Bex also has a side hustle as a registered marriage celebrant in New Zealand and created her entire brand, social media presence and business operation process through the use of digital tools. So as you can see, you're in very capable hands today. We're delighted to have Bex with us to share her knowledge and discuss some of the challenges our members are currently facing. Before I hand over to Bex, just a quick word about the format of the session. Bex will talk about several specific topics for around 20 to 25 minutes, during and following which she will answer any questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and Bex will deal with them either as she goes along or once she has finished her presentation. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Bex and welcome. Cheers, Bex.
Kia ora, Kevin. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here joining you all today. I will preface it by saying that I'm in the office today. We're in Grafton, and we have just had a power cut. So I am doing this via my hotspot, hoping that the connection is going to be suitable for us all today. But you know, these technology, you just got to lean in and embrace the change and hope that it all goes well. So yeah, as Kevin said, I will be sharing a short presentation, and I really want to hone in and focus on 5 key ways that you can make your marketing more efficient. So I will pull up a presentation in just a moment. If there's any jargon or any terms that I might use that you're unsure of, feel free to just pop in the chat, you know, CTA question mark, what does that mean? And I can explain that. If you've got any questions, you know, more so about the content or a specific situation, then I'll probably save those until the end of the session, just because it might be that the 5th point actually answers one of your questions. So I'm just going to share this presentation that I've created. So just give me one moment to just pull that one through. Okay. Let's just make sure that that's come up fine. And Kevin, if you can just tell me if that's showing for everyone.
Yes, it is indeed.
Amazing. So yeah, the topic that I'm here today to talk about is making your marketing more efficient. And as Kevin mentioned, this is part of the Business Resilience webinar series. So with the Mind Lab, we always start any hui or classes, you know, live facilitated classes with a karakia. All of our programs are grounded in kaupapa Māori, and it's a really important thing for us to take a moment to take a breath, to acknowledge that we all have a million things going on. Small business owners, you are some of the busiest out there. So this is really just that chance for us to all come together to appreciate, the moment that we're in before we go through this presentation. So we'll just start off with a karakia. Kia ino e tātou, ko te kawa o runga, ko te kawa o raro, ko te kawa ora, ko te kawa ora. E rongo e whakairihe ki runga, turuturu o whiti whakamaua ki a tina. Huye tai kie. Thank you so much. So my name is Bex Taylor. I am currently the marketing manager at the Mindlab, which I'll talk a little bit about. My background, as Kevin mentioned, is in brand design and advertising. So I've worked at a number of design and advertising agencies here in Auckland, and also I did a stint in Edinburgh in Scotland. I've also got kind of a split personality in the fact that I'm also a massive nature adventure nerd. So I also worked for 2 summers at a summer camp up in the Catskill Mountains in New York, and have also spent a lot of time doing hiking and tramping and things like that. It's a massive passion of mine. Also do have that side hustle. So in some ways, I'm a small business owner in my own way there. Married by Bex is my marriage celebrant business. And at the moment, I'm not doing too much marketing as I'm actually planning for my own wedding at the end of this year. But I have planned and created my brand and everything like that through Canva. Trello is how I manage all my projects, and Google Suite as well. So can talk a little bit about that today and how I make my marketing more efficient through my own side hustle. So I work for the Mindlab. Mindlab, you might know, was founded by Francis Valentine in 2013. So coming up on 10 years next year, which is very exciting. We've also got Tech Futures Lab. So the Mindlab and Tech Futures Lab are both postgraduate program providers. So we provide education providers, programs for adults, really innovative online collaborative opportunities for people to learn to become part of a community. We do have our physical lab here in Grafton, but a lot of our programs, almost all of our programs, can be done entirely online through live facilitated classes and self-directed learning. Digital Boost is something that you also might have heard about. I know Business North Harbour are quite involved with Digital Boost also. So this is a government initiative from MBIE, and it's really around getting small businesses digitized. So there's some amazing free resources, daily Q&A sessions, how-to videos, loads of different things that you can use just by becoming a Digital Boost member, and lots of offers that come off the back of that as well. So lots of businesses across New Zealand have banded together to offer this for the small business community. And I've been at the Mindlab for 2 years now and absolutely love it. We're a social impact driven organization, so it's all around purpose, and it's a fantastic thing to be part of. So generally, marketing requires 3 things: time, money, and effort. And of course, small business owners being the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, all the way down to the office admin, the cleaner, all things involved, you're probably short on all 3 of those things. So in terms of making your marketing most efficient is what I want to focus on today, because of course we only have 45 minutes. This could be, a 3-year master's if you think about how much there is to learn about marketing and how all the different ways you could make your marketing, most cost effective or most, impactful. But we're trying to bring that all together and find that nice sweet spot where it's really efficient marketing. So there's 5 points that I want to cover today. Each point I'll kind of share a little bit about, and then there'll also be the opportunity to take away some tasks, some things that you can start doing straight away to hopefully make your marketing more efficient. So the first one is to streamline your presence. And I'm going to start with an analogy, and I use this all the time. If I threw one tennis ball to you, or hit a tennis ball to you, you'd probably catch it. If I throw 10 at once, or 15, or 20, or 50, you're just going to get hit with a lot of different tennis balls, probably end up quite frustrated and pissed off, to be fair, and not catch anything, have a really bad experience. The same goes with your marketing. And the way I like to say it is, you don't have to do everything. It's much better to do one thing well than lots of things terribly. So this is the first thing: streamline your presence. Give yourself a bit of grace to not have to be on every single channel. You hear about TikTok and you hear about Giphy and you hear about all these things and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to be on there. You don't have to be. Think about the places that you want to be on and do them really well. So there's kind of 5 steps to that. And I would say the first thing is audit your presence. So actually take a step back and think about where your brand is, where your business is. You know, do you have a Facebook page? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have a LinkedIn? Think about all those things, write it all down, where you are, where you're seen. And then step 2, think about where your audience actually are. So you might be on LinkedIn because you love LinkedIn and that's, you know, from a professional networking background. But if you're selling t-shirts, does that really make sense to be on LinkedIn? Is that where people are going to be coming across your brand? Is that where they're going to be thinking about it and in that mindset? So think about where your audience actually are. And also think about what you know and what you enjoy using. So I know for me, you know, I'm 30, I'm at that other edge of the millennials, and I'm not a big fan of TikTok. So pushing myself to use TikTok in that way, it's not really a smart choice because, you know, think about those things that you know really well and that you enjoy using and kind of dive in and go for those. Number 4 is be decisive. It can be tricky to make that decision to either, you know, cancel a Facebook page or to delete your Twitter account. But ultimately, if people go there and don't find you, that's okay if you're in the places that matters the most. And then finally, review often. As much as, you know, this might be accurate right now and you feel really good about where your presence is, in 6 months' time, a year, even 2 months' time, it might be different. So it is important to review that often. So that's the first tip, is streamline your presence. You don't have to do everything. Think about those channels, those places to be that make the most sense, and go from there. The second one is to prioritize stories, not product details. There is the most fantastic video, which I've linked in this presentation. I'm sure Kevin will be able to get this in your members only area, which is a video from Simon Sinek, who talks all around the why and finding your why and starting with why. And the quote that he comes back to from a marketing perspective is, people don't buy what you do, but they buy why you do it. So there's a fantastic video. There's an 8-minute version and then there's a 17-minute version. I would highly recommend it watching. I watch it probably once a month because it is one of those things that you can just get really into it and not think about that and get down in the details of what's the features and the benefits of your products or your services, but taking that step back to be like, why are we actually doing this? Think about why you love certain brands and why you buy it. It's not necessarily the product details. It's how it makes you feel, how it makes your life easier, the things like that. And in terms of stories as well, I would say don't shy away from being the spotlight. Most of you, you know, if you're small business owners, you are the business. You are your business. Even if it's a product that you're selling or a service, you are your business. And I know it can be difficult. And again, you feel like you're wearing all the different hats and involved in all the different ways, but don't shy away from that spotlight, because that's how people will connect with you. They'll understand, they'll hear your story, they'll hear your background, they'll trust you. Trust is very important. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see some ideas. How can you tell a story? This, you know, it can be really simple, but answer a question that you get asked a lot. Share behind the scenes of your business or your product or your service. Maybe interview or Q&A with someone in your business. Maybe you're a family business and your son's about to take the helm. Do a Q&A with it. How are you feeling? You know, what have you learned? What is your vision? What's your future? Or maybe the new product, you know, why did you create this new product? What's the need for this? What's this impact going to have on people? The steps of how a product is made, or a recent product that's been improved as well. You know, people are always changing and updating things. Telling those stories is really important. And finally, a testimonial or quotes are fantastic. You know, it's one thing to tell people about your product, but having someone else actually say, this product changed my life. This product has enhanced my, you know, morning routine, or whatever it may be. Having those testimonials or those quotes are fantastic stories. So we've got streamline your presence, and we've got tell stories. Don't just, you know, spout off product details. I'm just going to pop back. So I've actually got 2 screens. I'm just going to pop back. You might not see the slide deck for a second. I just want to see if any questions have come through. No questions have come through so far. So yeah, if there's any jargon, any terms or anything like that that I throw out there that you don't know, feel free to pop them in the Q&A. So we've got, you can see that again, fantastic. So that's second one there. The third way that you can make your marketing more efficient is to snap photos with your phone. So we all know, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words, and writing something can take a lot of time, especially if that's not your forte. People love images. People love to see things. It's visual. It catches the eye. A picture tells 1,000 words, truly does. And the really great thing is that people's expectations have changed a lot because of the pandemic. So even us as a company, we love to tell our student stories. We used to go out to schools, we would film the person, tell their story. We would have beautiful imagery and shots, of the teacher in the classroom or of the person in their workspace. And we would put together this gorgeous, 3-minute video, very high production value. When the pandemic hit and people didn't want us coming into their workplaces, or they were working from home and we just couldn't get that same content, rather than stop doing it altogether, we pivoted just like other people did, and we went, all right, let's do it on Zoom. And the feedback that we've had is it's still the same conversation. It's still the same, content. It's just in a slightly lower production quality, but no one has stopped watching those videos. We have just the same sort of engagement rate with those. So what I'm trying to say is the expectations of content creation has changed. So don't worry if you don't have big budget television campaigns. That's okay. Those pictures are important. They tell 1,000 words. So lean into it, embrace the now, pick up your smartphone, take some photos and share that with your audience. So this is a really, really easy way to just be more efficient. You're not having to hire a photographer. You're not having to rent out a studio. Do it yourself, or maybe you've got, maybe your husband or wife or partner or your kid or your grandkid or someone that is a bit savvy, then do that together. So again, just some ideas on the right-hand side. Snap some photos of your office space or your factory. Snap some photos of your key staff members with a little bit of a bio, sharing a bit about them. Maybe a new customer or a new client. Maybe your local area, the business associations around Business North Harbour, if you're doing something, you're going to a networking event, tagging them in, then they share that as well. It helps to really build on that. Books or podcasts that inspire you as well. If you're more in the service space, maybe don't have a specific product, thinking about that wider, spectrum, just taking that step back and thinking about those things that inspire you. And this is kind of, that next phase is even better to record a quick video, but if that's too much, if that feels a bit too scary, just start with some photos. And Instagram's great, it's got loads of filters, so you can make things feel really, really good in that respect too. So that's the third kind of tip to make your marketing more efficient, is let it go. You don't need to do those big budget things. Snap some photos with your phone and just see what that engagement's like with your audience. We're doing pretty good for time. I do talk quite fast, so we will have time for questions, which is awesome. The fourth tip, the fourth way to make your marketing more efficient, is to understand and recognize that all roads should lead to your website. So, obviously you might have a storefront, you might have physical premises, but for most it's, when you're reaching across Aotearoa or even internationally, your website is that hub. Your website is your shop front, is your store. So therefore, all of your marketing efforts, everything that you've got out there, should all lead back to your website. So think about it like breadcrumbs. You're posting something on Instagram saying, oh, here's, 2 paragraphs of this new article that we've written, teaser, and then go to our website for more. Because when they're on your website, they're going to navigate around your website. They're going to, oh, that was really interesting. And now it's saying, interested in this, read this. And you're going to have that dwell time. People are going to be on your website for longer. And then, of course, they will come across your product details and things like that. So Instagram, whatever channels you've got out there, teaser, and then bringing them back through to your website as much as you can. So think of those breadcrumbs. In terms of a website, there was feedback in this survey that both Peter and Kevin shared with me around how to increase traffic to your site. So that's that. It's the breadcrumbs, increasing traffic to your site by having everything that you've got out there, drawing them back to your website. Of course, some people, it's, phone numbers that you're putting on adverts, but really it should be website. Because website, they'll be able to find your phone number, they'll be able to find your email addresses. But website is that hub where you really want people to come in and make sure that they're, converting on your website. So that's increasing traffic to your site. In terms of improving your site itself as a conversion tool, I've got some tips for that on the right-hand side. And of course, everyone's going to be different. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, and there are a million, website specialists out there as well that you could engage with and have an audit done and work through things like that. But in terms of quick things that you can kind of look at yourself and maybe prioritize yourself, make sure you've got key products or service information. And I would stress here to include pricing. So when I first launched Married by Bex, I looked out at my competitors, I looked at other marriage celebrants in the Auckland region, and came across only 1 or 2 that actually had their prices or their packages on their website. What that meant was they're getting requests all the time saying, how much does it cost? Because that's one of the first questions people have is, how much does a celebrant even cost? You know, it's usually a one-time only engagement. You know, most people get married once. They are looking for that celebrant. They get it once. So they have no prior context of how much people cost. For me, I was thinking, okay, do I not have my pricing? And then, oh, that's good. They'll message me. Or why would I want to waste my time responding to people that actually aren't in my price range, aren't going to pay the value that I place on my services? So I would say be bold. Don't be afraid to include pricing. Of course, you can always, have a starter or, just a bit of a guide and have things like, full quote can be provided and things like that. But I would say a really great way to reduce the need to talk to people that aren't going to buy your product or service because you are out of their price range. Or it might be the other way around, where actually your pricing is well within their price and they didn't realize that, and they saw your brand and thought, oh, they look way too fancy or way too accomplished for me. Surely they'd be too expensive. And then they go to their pricing page, they go, oh my gosh, that's reasonable. So I would suggest that. Other things about us section with pictures of you and your team. Again, even products, it's still made by someone or concepted by someone, or someone is at the other end of that email saying, we're sending you your tracking order, I'm so excited for you to receive our product. So that's really nice. It's a really quick, easy thing to do. Just snap some photos using your phone, put up there Bex Taylor, marriage celebrant, and have that photo there. People see those faces and they can connect with you on a different level. Another really good thing to have on your website is all those answers to those frequently asked questions you get. Where is your location? Do you have parking available? What are your opening hours? Whatever the products, to think about all those things that you get asked, or start a list for the next week. Every single question you get asked, just write it down, maybe tally it up, how many are you actually getting asked? And then why would you not want to have that content on your website? And then you can send people to that page and say, hey, here's all those answers and more. And then they're on your website and they're going to see other things as well that might get their information. Clear contact information, huge. There's nothing worse than trying to find an email address or a phone number, especially when something's urgent, or when something is, something where they need to send you an email with lots of information. Have that information either in your footer, the very bottom of your website, in the header, so it's always on there, or have a very clear contact us button that goes to a page that has all those options there. Super, super important to have that clear contact information. Details or ability to buy products and services, it's kind of a no-brainer, but if you are an e-commerce type website, make sure that you've got the ability for people to buy your products through your site. And there's loads of great plugins like Shopify, and depending on what website you're using, there's some really great plugins that you can use there. And then this is also really important. More than ever, we're on our phones a lot more than our desktop. Check if your website looks good on mobile. A lot of websites are designed for desktop first, and then they're retrospectively designed for mobile. It should be the other way around. So making sure that your content is showing that things aren't covering over each other, that buttons are clear and big enough for you to be able to click with your thumb and things like that. So that's just some tips there around your website specifically. I know that was in the feedback survey. I'm just going to pop back again. Not got any questions through. Hope that means that I'm not using too much jargon and people are understanding that. So that's awesome. I am about to cover off our last point, our last tip to make your marketing more efficient. And that is to upskill yourself. I cannot stress this enough. And this is what we believe in wholeheartedly at the Mind Lab. The greatest certainty in this world is change. So lifelong learning is key. In Aotearoa, New Zealand, we have really, really low rate of adult learners. So most people do high school, maybe do a bachelor's degree, an undergrad degree, or do a trade, or do something straight out of school. They go straight into a learning facility, and then they enter the workforce, and then they do not learn again. That whole system needs to change, because the rate that things are changing, the rate that technology is changing, that subjects are changing, it's really important to constantly upskill and refresh your knowledge. And I know you might be sitting there going, yeah, that's great, but how on earth am I going to fit that in with everything else that I've got going on in my life? And I hear you. And I think what that comes back to is there's different ways to upskill yourself, but that lifelong learning, that curiosity should become part of your day-to-day routine. It should be just as you set aside time for invoicing or following up on invoices or creating social media content, you should also set aside that time to upskill yourself. Because what you'll find is if you upskill, especially when it comes to digital tools, the automation that is available to you can drastically reduce the time that you spend doing certain tasks. So it might feel like a bit of work up front, but by flipping that and putting that investment in, you're actually going to free up your time to do the more human aspects of your job, to improve your products, to talk to your customers and kind of go through that. So massively, massively important. So I would say there's different ways that you can do this. First way, just embrace digital tools. There is, just a plethora of tools out there. I would say to start off with, a really, really great one that we use here at the MindLab is Canva. So it's a website, canva.com. It's created by people in Melbourne, actually. Now it's used across the world. It's very, very reasonable price. It's a turn on and off as you want it. So I think it's about $20 a month for the pro version. There is a free version too. And you might go, right, I've got, I'm going to do all of my social media content, or I'm going to create this new product brochure or whatever it may be. So I'm only going to have Canva for 2 months. I'm going to create everything and then I'm going to turn it off. You can do that if you want to, which is awesome. So you're not having to buy some, software that you sign up for a year. You can do this kind of monthly as you go. So embrace digital tools. Learn from the best. This is where Digital Boost comes in. They have created this incredible just resource of videos, how-to guides, Q&A sessions, community forums, so many things out there where you can go, okay, I want to know more about SEO, or I want to know more about social media marketing, or how to, use Zoom for an event or a webinar. Those tools, those videos exist. All you have to do is go to Digital Boost and create an account. It's totally free for New Zealanders. You just need to put in your New Zealand business number, create that account, and then you have access to all of that resource, also the community that's part of it, and then you get these offers that come through as well. The third thing I'd say in the upskill yourself, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. And I don't even need to say that because you're already here. You're already learning from, Peter and Kevin and the team here at Business North Harbour. You're already accessing that network, tapping in, surrounding yourself with other business owners that are in similar situations to you, leveraging off each other, networking, connecting. That's massively important. And then I would say the fourth one, this is where the MindLab, really our strong suit is in that taking that next step up and actually going on a learning journey. So we've got professional qualifications, micro-credentials, short courses, postgraduate programs, masters, even if you wanted to. But these are really great learning journeys designed for people just like you that are busy, that can't take time off of work or can't take time out of your business to learn. Really, really fun, collaborative, safe environments where you're learning. So there's, the no silly questions policy. Everything, as I said, is grounded in Kaupapa Māori. So you're really reflecting back on things and making sure that everything you're doing is in a long-term sustainable mindset. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about 2 of the programs that could be of interest to you. One is Digital Skills for the Workplace. And this is actually the program that I started facilitating when I came on board with the MindLab. And it is a 7-week part-time course. There's 2 classes every week that you attend, but you can also watch the recordings if you'd like. And it's a really awesome one to just, embrace that change, embrace those digital tools, try things out in a really safe, fun environment, but you're working on tasks that are totally applicable to your workplace. So you're actually doing an assignment, but that assignment is thinking of a challenge that you have within your actual business, and then totally flipping that on its head and looking at that from a digital angle and solving that problem. And you get to work on that throughout the whole course. So it's really, really personalized. It's customized. We always say we teach context, not content. Even better news is that there's full scholarships available for this program for Digital Boost users. So just by signing up to Digital Boost, you get the promo code and you'll be able to sign up for Digital Skills for the Workplace at $0, usually $295. So that's a really awesome one to look at. The mindlab.com DigiSkills is the URL for that. Have a look. There's also, people that you can contact and talk about that if you've got any questions. And another one is, sustainability is a really, really important thing for marketing these days. There's a lot of stuff around greenwashing and, people feeling like they don't trust brands, and everyone's throwing kind of eco this and eco that on products and labels and things like that. So this is a really fantastic way to learn more about what it actually means to, be sustainable in the business lens, to make sure that, you are using frameworks and tools and models to really prove that sustainability, because this is a really murky area. And if you get it wrong, it can be really, really bad for business. So this is an 8-week program, also a micro-credential. We've got multiple intakes throughout the year. So we've had streamlining your presence, stories, not products, snapping photos with your phone. All roads lead to your website, and the importance of upskilling yourself. So I'm going to swing back over to the chat, into the thing there. All good, Kevin?
Yeah, there's nothing in there at the moment, Bex, but just a couple of things that are sort of coming to my mind while you've been talking. And again, I think the content's been terrific, so thank you for that. You've mentioned how important websites are. So with the Digital Boost program, is the website development support available as part of that program?
I believe so. So there's small business specialists that you can organize a call with and jump on the phone with them to kind of talk a bit more about your product or services, talk about what, website you either have at the moment or what you're thinking, and then they can help to advise you. There's also lots of guides and tools around different options. So of course, Google Sites is an option. You can use Squarespace, Wix. So there's a lot of those as well. So yeah, through Digital Boost, it's a really nice chance to kind of get your bearings and have a look at the different options before making that decision. And you've got those small business advisors that will help when you're having those phone calls.
Terrific, thank you. And then outside of Digital Boost, I mean, as I say, you've mentioned how important websites are. One of the things that puts a lot of small business owners off developing the website are what they perceive to be exorbitant costs for a lot of people that provide website development. Are there any sort of silver bullets that you can maybe pass on to attendees, whereby a lot of them could probably do some of the work themselves without having to go outside of their business?
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. I think what it comes back to is keeping things simple. Because if you have a really simple website, you can create something in Google Sites for free and have that up there. Maybe that's what you start with. And then once you've actually got a bit of money behind you, or you've got a bit of investment, or you find a really good website partner that you go, okay, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this project where they create it, and then you're just the one managing it on an ongoing space. I think that's the way to do it. It's really hard to create a website, like just to log on and go create a website. Like, you have to first think about what it is that you're actually trying to communicate, what your competitors are doing as well, what those certain pages are. So I'd suggest, there is a bit of that, and that's a really great chance just to talk to some friends and family as well about what they expect, or if they were coming to your website, what they would want. Yes, I would say that it can be a bit costly. Like I had a Squarespace website that I set up for my Married by Bex. And when I got to the point where I was like, oh, I actually don't want any new business, like I've actually just turned it off, which isn't, ideal, because it means that some people could still be going to that URL and just seeing the holding page. But for me, I was like, at least Instagram and Facebook are my free channels. I can do them for now. And then when I get to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to ramp up my sales and marketing again, boom, I just turn my website back on, update my content, and good to go. That's not really best practice, but for something like my specific position, it's not an ongoing service. It's very much people come once through the door, want you as their marriage celebrant, get you as their marriage celebrant, and then they leave you and never kind of contact you again.
Terrific. Thanks, Bex. Well, there's no other questions come through. So I know you've got a closing for your section, or there's one just jumped in there now.
Had a question. Yeah, please feel free to put questions in the chat for all those listening. More than happy to answer. It's only 12:36, so we do have some time. So the question that's come through is from Ozana. Do you have some examples of marketing communities that I could join? I live in Auckland, online communities or in-person meetings. I'm interested in both. Awesome. I would say, there is so many out there. There's Facebook groups that you can join. I would say the Digital Boost community is an awesome one to join. So they have these kind of Q&A sessions that they run every day. They've also got, Facebook groups and things like that. Using in-person meetings as well, there's something called meetup.co.nz, I believe it is, and that has some really interesting ones too. And there's also, women in business, men in business, there's, lots of other ones like that. I would just have a good old Google search, to be fair. And I think, Kevin, you've probably got some other, communities and things like that you could suggest from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, again, within our organisation, we've got some special interest groups. We've got a women in business group. We've got a property owners group. We've also got a group for our Asian businesses. So if people want to be sort of linked within them, then again, if they just contact us, then we can put them in contact with some other people that regularly join those groups.
Yeah, and I would say as well, we've recognised the need for that. So with the MindLab and Tech Futures Lab, when people finish their programs, we also have our alumni community. So once you finish, a 7-week or an 8-week course, if you don't choose to go on and do another course, you're still part of that alumni community. And that's a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, and regular meetups every Thursday, the first Thursday of every month. So there are opportunities through that too to stay involved, because otherwise people say, sometimes you learn and then it feels like you're learning, you just go off a cliff and you're like, oh no, I'm on my own again. So that opportunity to stay involved and stay connected and stay inspired is really, really important.
Terrific. Thanks, Bex. There's nothing else coming through. So I know you've got a closing. So if you want to do your closing, and then I'll finish the webinar completely.
No worries at all. And I have got my contact details up here as well. So I will show, just feel free to get in contact with me if you did have any other specific questions, anything that I could help out with. So it's bex.taylor@themindlab.com. I would encourage you to check out the different learning opportunities that we have at themindlab.com. We're also running some really cool events over Tech Week. So we've got one which is called Upskill in 60 Minutes, and it's all around reverse brainstorming, which is an awesome way to use a digital tool to flip a problem on its head and actually make it really, really, really bad, and then solve it from the outside in. So it's this really unique tool called reverse brainstorming, which is a free session that we're running as part of Tech Week. So you can find that at themindlab.com. And also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. It's always nice to, kind of grow the network and grow the community. So feel free to do that. So I will just close with a karakia. And thank you all so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's always really nice to share some tips. I hope that, for those who are online right now, you found it interesting. And yeah, I just really appreciate the opportunity. So we'll just close with a karakia before we go off into our day. Kia inoi tātou. Ka whakairia te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara. Kia turaki whakataha ai, kia turaki whakataha ai. Haumi hui tai ki.
Thanks, Bex. Really appreciate your time today. Again, some terrific information and insights. And as Bex has said, please feel free to contact her directly to take any conversations offline. The presentation from today, the whole webinar, and all Bex details will be in our members only section of the website over the next couple of days. So you can always find the information there as well. So as I say, Bex, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks everyone for attending. The good news, just to finish off with, we're now able to start or reintroduce our in-person events. And the first one of them is on the 24th of the month, 24th of May. We've got our post-budget luncheon, at which the Honourable Stuart Nash will be presenting on Labour's budget. And then Nicola Willis will respond and look at what National's alternative might be moving forward. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you at that. Register. We're already over 80 odd people registered for that. So get in quickly to avoid disappointment, as they say. Thank you all for attending today. Again, thanks, Bex. And with that, I shall close today's session. Thank you very much indeed, and have a good day and farewell. Thank you.